Deviance. I want to talk a little bit about some of the key ideas in the chapter on deviance in our book. I'm talking about the ideas in this book here, Applied Sociology, chapter 5, in this case, deviance. So I want to go through some of the terms and talk about ones that I think are important, interesting, that I think help really understand the total concept. So this is just me, but I'm your teacher, so there we go. First one I'll mention is functions of deviance. This is the idea that behavior has a function. I tend towards a functionalist perspective. I think that people do things for reasons. People do things they have a reason for the way they do stuff, including deviating from norms. If I'm going to break the rules on how I dress or how I talk or where I go or how I behave, some behavior thing, it probably has some function, maybe a psychological function for me. Maybe I have a personal validation need or an inclusion need or a esteem need, something that gets for me. It could be a social function, that the group I'm in needs someone to do this role, so I'm acting deviant in a way that helps the group function normally for most of the time, helps someone else function normally. Or it could be a cultural thing. Maybe the culture needs a group of people to be deviants in a sense, to live, and because it needs those people that way, it will say, no, we're not going to let you be normal, we're going to make you a deviant because we need some people to be deviant. So it could be a big cultural thing, could be a social group thing, a sociological thing, or it could be even a psychological thing, but there's a function, I think, there's a reason, there's a purpose that people do deviant behavior, and that's important to understand what's going on. It's kind of like the idea, follow the money, right? If you want to know why something's happening, figure out who's making money on it. And that's probably a motivation for things to go that way. Deviance is kind of like that too. It's follow the need, follow the what function does it serve the people who are affected by it, either people doing it or the people seeing it. There's probably a functional reason for a deviance to occur, and I think that's an important idea. Normative behavior. And the key thing there, if you look right at the definition of normative behavior, it says, a behavior that follows the norms of a group at a time and place. Normative behavior is always temporary. It's always brief. It's always what's normal here and what's normal now. If you go back 100 years, things might be different. Go forward 100 years, things might be different. This way 1,000 miles, that way 1,000 miles, things might be different. What's normal, the right way to do things, the acceptable paradigm is always temporary. It's always for here and now, which is why judging people who are 1,000 miles away or 100 miles, 100 years away is always a little problematic. It's easy to say, oh gosh, 1,000 years ago they should have been doing this and this and this and this. Well, according to your norms of how we should live, that might be true. Then and there, wherever there is, they were probably doing what they were supposed to do. They were probably following the norms of their time. This is, yes, a very relativistic idea, right? This is saying that there is no absolute right and wrong. There is no absolute correct, always best way to do things. That changes from time to time and place to place. I think that tends to be true. I think there aren't a lot of absolutes, particularly in sociological kind of stuff. I mean, there are absolutes in physics and there are absolutes in biology, but when it comes to sociology and normative behavior, not much is absolute. Things vary quite a bit. Normative behavior is always, like I said, always temporary, always brief. There aren't rights and wrongs when it comes to social behavior. At least not absolute ones. There are ones that are right and wrong now and here, but not universally. Third one I want to mention is social or self-control. Self-control on that page. This is the idea that we control ourselves, right? That I follow rules, I follow social rules, I follow the rules for how to dress, how to interact with people, how to speak, how to look, how to eat, how to make food, how to drive. But I follow those myself. I'm the one controlling me. Society doesn't exert a lot of controls over people. We have controls. We have jails and police, and we have parents, and we have informal and formal means of doing this. But for the most part, by and large, we don't use them. People control themselves. Self-control is the way that society... Everyone follows the rules in society by self-control. So it's really an internalized thing, right? If you were spending the day home alone, you would probably still get dressed and take a shower and put on deodorant and eat off a plate and probably not do things that are going to disrupt your neighbor, even though no one's around controlling you. You're there by yourself. You have internalized all those rules, and you follow them. You follow them because you think you should. So it's very self-control is a key idea there. Next one I want to mention is socially constructed. This is the idea, like it says, that communication, interaction with other people is how we get all the rules. All the rules come from social interaction, social construction stuff. And there are influences, of course, from the environment, from our biology, from tradition, but when it comes right down to it, it's me and my wife decide how to run our family. Me and my bosses decide how to run our organization. You and I, as voters, decide who to elect, to how we're going to run our state, our city, our nation. The rules for doing these things are something that we construct by agreement. We just get together and say, this is how we're going to do it. So sociology is full of rules and norms that are in deviances that are defined by the people involved, really, through social construction. Again, there's not an absolute. It's something that we all agree upon and do. So it's kind of cool. Some people are defined by their deviance. If your deviant trait, whatever it is, behavior, whatever deviant thing is big enough, it becomes your defining characteristic to your group or to many social groups. And so that's what a stigma is. A stigma is when your deviance becomes how people see you. So I'm a felon, I go to jail for 20 years, I get out, I'm a felon for life, right? I'm labeled, I am stigmatized because of my deviant behavior of getting caught committing a crime. People who are, you name what kind of deviance do you like? I don't know. Anything. Anyone who deviates from your group. And if you're the only atheist in a group, people might, in your religious family, people might label you, think of you as the atheist first, and that becomes your stigma, your kind of your deviant label that they always think of you as. So if you have a family of mostly straight people and you're the only gay person in it, you might be the gay brother, the gay cousin, and that becomes your essentially kind of a stigma label. It supersedes your other traits. So that's what stigma is. And then there's lots of movies about people who are stigmatized and how they deal with that in their social groups. So anyway, a few key ideas for the chapter on deviance in Introduction to Sociology. Hope those are helpful in understanding the broader idea of deviance. Okay, on to chapter 6, right?